Hello, we are back in the room again after the coffee break. For those that are with us online, we are going very soon to start the fourth panel.
Thank you very much for you who have patiently been waiting for the session 4 to begin. We successfully finalized the session 3 about the overarching security by standards, and in our next session, number 4, we will look into the future and the vision for the future, and we will ask ourselves how will standardization look in the future. We're almost ready to start, and the last cup of coffees and teas are being brought to the audience, so thank you for waiting a few more minutes.
So as we are getting ready for the session 4, I share again the QR code that you see in front of you that you can use to communicate with us. You can also use menti.com by using the code you see in front of you, and this would be the way you can communicate with us. And me and Kim, we will be your voice here in this room. People are slowly gathering back in the room after the coffee break and a bit of networking. And soon we are going to start session 4, which is the visions of the future.
Okay, everybody, welcome back from your final coffee break. We're going to dive into the future. This morning we already asked you, if you look far in the future, what are some of the things that you will see? For our final session, we have asked 4 people to take their glass bowl, take some coffee and take a good look at it and look into the future. And all of them took a specific perspective to look into the future. They each get 2 minutes to present their future to you, and then it's your task to rank their futures on a scale from that will be difficult to achieve to that's easy to do. So I'm going to call them one by one to give them a 2-minute presentation. We're going to start with someone who works for ANSI, basically the French version of ENISA, and also active in ETSI, Andrea Rock.
Hi. So good afternoon, everyone that's still here. So my version of the future is, so we were asked to what in 2035, what's going on. So I think at that moment we have so all this regulation in place now, but with a lot of reference on European standards. Which means that from the member states' point of view, only those member states can keep the influence on the cybersecurity world when they really invest in standards. Meaning they have to participate, they have to organize themselves together with industry to really be present and influence the standards. That also means that the standardization engineer really becomes a strategic position. So hopefully there will be some courses at the university really showing people how to write standards, how to participate, and because that's really the place where the influence and where the decisions are made. So that's my idea.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much. Secondly, we go to Joanna Swiatkowska from EXO.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I guess that the biggest challenge for the very last session is to keep you awake and intellectually stimulated. And you know that there is only one way how to do that, and is to say something controversial or unconventional, or at least a little bit challenging. So that's going to be my try. So what would be my wish for 2035 in context of the standardization? Well, let me put it this way. We are living in a quite tense geopolitical situation, and those tensions can unfortunately escalate into the potentially difficult situations, maybe even armed conflicts. And you can see that Europe is preparing for that. We are increasing our investments in defense. We are trying to do whatever we can to make sure that our strength and our capabilities are at the level that are needed. And here comes the link with the standardization story. I hope that in 2035, we're going to see a seamless cooperation between military and civilian standardization tracks to make sure that Europe has the best-in-class capabilities in defense. And why cooperation between civil and military area is so crucial in this context when it comes to standards? It's simple. We need to have access to the most innovative technology. We need to have rapid development of the standards. We need to make sure that our European providers, they know how to enter the game, and standards are the key. And of course, we need to adapt to the fast-changing environment, and this is also needed in case of the cooperation between civilian and military area in the area of the standardization. Thank you so much.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much. And from Namiral, we have Paolo Campegiani.
Okay, first point, I don't know who is the man in the picture. It is not me. It's more beautiful than me, for sure younger. It seems like someone has asked the GDP, make a portrait of Paolo, but make him better than real life. So thanks for that. So we are in the Cybersecurity Conference. This is a deep fake attack. First point, okay. Now, a more serious thing. What I think that could happen 10 years from now. If you read the Digital Silk Road strategy from China, which is the digital version of the Silk Road, the Road and Belt Initiative, it says these words. Third-tier companies are developing products, second-tier companies are developing technologies, and first-tier companies are developing standards. So you want to be a third-tier, a second-tier, or a first-tier company. If you look at the Project 2025, which is, now I'm talking about the United States of America, which is a project of dramatic reform of the United States government developed by the Heritage Foundation, and I think we could all agree that the first weeks of this new administration have been quite dramatic. It states that they wanted to reduce the size of the USA governments, closing many federal agencies, but some of them will continue to work. One of these, which is relevant for us, is the NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology. And regarding the NIST, Project 2025 states that it has to develop more standards, and it has to work with countries that have open markets to develop standards together. So if you put these two very different things together, you have that 10 years from now, standards will be a strong field of competition between the different blocks, because now we live in a world that is divided into blocks again. And this means that we have to approach standards as a matter of sovereignty first, and with many of the instruments that approach as if they are, because they are, applied geopolitics. That's my initial pitch.
Wonderful, thank you so much. And last but not least, from CENELEC, you get first applause. last but not least, and sorry for your picture, but we have, I think this was just ChatGPT going wild on pictures, yeah. From CENELEC, Cynthia Misaroli.
Thank you. I hope that you can hear me. Okay, good afternoon. I am a professional standardizer. I'm not a professional in cybersecurity, so I wrote now just some notes on what I wanted to say, so forgive me if I'm reading some words. So I was really thinking when preparing this, my intervention, I was really thinking, what do we need for the future? And I think that really we need a world where individual business and governments can operate with confidence, knowing that systems we rely on are secure by design, resilient by nature, and adaptable to change. Cyber threats are evolving extremely fast, and we must be adopting an approach that is anticipatory, collaborative, and deeply integrated into every facet of digital innovation. To achieve this vision, we must rethink the way that standards are developed. Then what we need? First, cybersecurity standards must be dynamic and proactive. The future demands agile, risk-based standards that evolve continuously, incorporating real-time threats intelligence, predictive analytics, and emerging best practices. We need living standards that adapt as fast as the threats that they seek to mitigate. Second, we must strengthen global collaboration, with Europe leading the way. Cybersecurity is not a regional issue, it's a global challenge. My dream is to see truly harmonized, internationally recognized cybersecurity standards that allows government, companies, and individuals to operate securely across borders. The European Union has already taken the lead in this exercise, but behind the regulation, the EU is also a key player in driving international standardization efforts, ensuring that European values of openness, trust, inclusiveness, and interoperability shape the global cybersecurity landscape. And to strengthen the European leadership, we must build upon the collaboration that we have, not only between EU legislators and European Standardisation Organization, but also between European Standardization Organization, international organizations, fora, and consortia. And by doing so, we can export European best practices and ensure that cybersecurity standards remain aligned with the EU strategic priorities, including technological sovereignty, resilience, and the protection of fundamental rights. And third, we must embed security into innovation. We must move beyond reactive security measures and instead continue embracing a philosophy on security by design. This means that standards must be flexible, future-ready, and technology-neutral, allowing for continuous advancement while maintaining robust protection. You can imagine a world where smart cities, autonomous vehicles, and AI-driven healthcare systems are secure from the ground up, where trust in digital systems is no longer a question, but a given. This is a world we must strive to create. And then the future, for me, is built on trust. At CSART, cybersecurity standardization, that is not just about compliance, it's about trust, resilience, and accountability. It is about ensuring that people, business, and institutions can operate in the digital world without fear of exploitation, disruption, or manipulation. And it's now the moment actually to act, to take bold, decisive actions today to shape the future of tomorrow.
Wonderful, thank you so much. You get some applause. And in the meantime, we asked the people here and the people at home to rank your dreams on a scale from, oh, this is really impossible, to, this is super easy. Andrea, people are most optimistic so far about your dream, this shift of roles. Is it achievable?
So I hope so. So, I mean, it's about, is the job that I'm doing, will that be relevant and more relevant? So I would hope so, yes, because that's really in the end what I'm doing is working on the standards and trying to do the influence while really participating in the different standardization work. And I really think that's getting more and more relevant, and I hope that more and more governmental entities, but also industries realize that it's not just some side action. It's not something that, even if you don't see the results right now, it's really something crucial, something strategic, and we have to invest in that.
Yeah, I think it aligns very much, Cynthia, what you said. It's more and more things we have are in smart. Everything's becoming smart. At the same time, cybersecurity is not the last part, the final thing we do once it's the foundation of everything. That means we need more participation from everybody, and there's much more at stake. Can we realize that, or is it going to be much more difficult to get people involved in the standardization business?
Well, I think that this participation is crucial, is the key of standardization. We wouldn't be able to develop standards if we didn't have the right people around the table to contribute to this exercise. And we know that, unfortunately, and this is, it wouldn't be coming as a surprise to you, that today the aging, the population of standardizing is a bit aging. So we lack new people joining, new people that are interested in standardization, because it's not very much known, and we are investing a lot in education about standardization. We are developing programs to go and ensure that standardization also is taught in university, and even before that,
and
in
even
high
this morning
school.
someone said we need also these people that work in a different way, that have a much more agile mindset.
Yes, and exactly. And also to address this request of developing things in a different way, we are also a lot investing in a new way, collaborative way of developing standards. We are really investing not only CENELEC, but together with ISO and IEC, to develop a single platform that is actually an online collaborative platform where experts around Europe and around the globe can work at the same time on the same document, and not anymore having to wait for meeting every 3 months to develop standards. This would allow an increased participation and also a much more dynamic way of developing standard, and ultimately to have also standard much quicker than we currently have.
Paolo, we're going to specifically talk about the role of Europe in a world that is becoming maybe a more island-sized world than we're used. If you had to give this pitch 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years ago, would it be more roughly the same, or are the developments in the world so fast that you have to adjust your pitch regularly?
I would provide 2 different answers. The first one is the standards are developed by real people living in the real world, so we have to adapt to it, whether we like it or not. But on more strategic level, because I don't want to ignore the question, Europe has been historically very capable of developing regulations and standards. Just to give you an example, I'm 10 years in my company. When I was 10 days later in my company, I had a sales meeting outside of Europe. We sell digital identity products, okay? And the retailer, the first thing they asked me was, okay, but is this compatible with the EIDAS? EIDAS is the European framework for digital identity. Why these people outside of Europe were so interested in EIDAS 10 years ago? Because they know that it's very well structured, that it works very well, it allows to accommodate for many differences. So for them it was, if you have followed all the process to be EIDAS compliant, it's good for us, even if we're not applying EIDAS in our country. This is an example of what is called the Brussels effect. The fact that we have legislation in Europe, regulations that also influences outside of Europe. Probably the best book that has been published in the last years about the role of standards is the Brussels effect, that has been written by a Finnish scholar that works at Columbia University. So to tell you, this is one of our strengths, the capability to develop standards. It allows us to conquer new markets and to impose partly our rules to the rest of the world. So we have to do this in any case. In this situation, current situation, is a matter of survival.
We're going to talk much more about that, and after that also we're going to talk more about how to lower the barriers for participation in a more difficult future. But first I want to go to what are challenges coming on the horizon. It is the first question we asked this morning. Can we go to can we go to the next question? We bring back this question. What are some things you see on the horizon that should be on our radar, and why? We already found this is a difficult question for our audience, because a lot of them put in the problems of today that are right in front of them, not the things on the horizon, but there are some things on the horizon. I think a very interesting one, Joanna, is the one that you brought. I had a conference a while ago about offshore energy, and there was a NATO admiral. He came there and he said, you have windmills on the North Sea, we have to protect them, we cannot do that. We have a few airplanes that can look above the sea. We cannot look under the sea from the air. We rely on your technology. You protect your wind parks with cameras. Greenpeace checks how many fish are swimming in the sea with cameras. We want access to your cameras and to your sensors, everything, to know what's going on, to see if the hostile entities are here. I also asked him, so does that mean that soon every webcam that Greenpeace buys to watch fish has to be military grade? And he's like, no, but a little bit yes. This, to me, it was like, never thought. This is one of those new things I would not have seen. Even, and the Admiral also said, 5 years ago, we never thought about this. Are there many more geopolitical developments, technological developments that are going to have an unexpected impact?
Well, most likely, yes. But you know, it's just what you're saying maybe came as a surprise to you, but the closer you are actually to the discussion about cybersecurity as such, the more you observe geopolitical situation, as was mentioned also about Paulo and myself, the clearly you see that this discussion is actually taking place. So today, there is no surprise when people are talking about dual-use technologies and the proximity of the technological developments between civil and military areas. So given the current context, I only expect those debates to actually intensify. And since we are talking about the standards, look, I use this example, as I say, maybe a little bit to provide the answer from a different perspective, to boost a little bit like the discussion with the audience as well. But to be honest, the discussion between civil and military ecosystems concentrating on standards, this is to some extent a reality already. Look at ETSI, look at NATO. I mean, these are organizations that are saying straightforwardly, we need to use civilian standards as a default activity and only move to the military-driven discussions if really truly necessary. And why is that? Simply because the technology between civil and military domains are completely blurred these days, right? In the naval sector, if I'm not mistaken, we are talking about 90% of proximity when it comes to the technological usage, and the same is for cybersecurity. I mean, more than 90%, I would assess, of technologies can have this dual-use nature, right? So I would say that I use it as a little bit a futuristic scenario, but to me, the reality is already here. And unfortunately, given what is happening in the geopolitical area, I think this is going to be the discussion of tomorrow as well.
Yeah, and it's how quickly this changed, because a few years ago, we would never expected, let's say, Ukraine to use en masse civilian drones for a high-tech war.
That's absolutely correct. And as said, it is. This is why the discussion has, you know, like came to this point and to this peak. That's because reality showed us that there is no other way, and this is how the world looks like.
Yeah, those are interesting developments. Maybe someone else who hasn't mentioned yet, what is some unexpected thing coming on the horizon that we should not be neglecting? Because also I think what Jos said this morning was we're often so much involved in our day-to-day business that already gives us a 40, 50, 60-hour work week. We don't even have time to look longer in the future, but we sometimes have to be able to anticipate. Is there some future development that we definitely have to take care of it? We shouldn't be forgetting. I'm just going to randomly ask you. No? Nothing you see happening on the horizon? Oh, okay. The microphone was off anyway. Then I give it to your neighbor. What do you see happening on the horizon that we have to take care of?
It's a good question. Maybe it's not so related to security alone, but also to a, let's say, a combination. For example, AI will have a bigger impact and so on. So these are just some thoughts from my side.
What is some thought of that AI is gonna mean?
I mean, much AI will play a more important role also for the attacker, let's say, but I'm also thinking about manipulating AI systems or whatever. So these might be things which will come up, which are already coming up, but which might get
more bigger and
importance,
faster every time. Yeah. Okay, that's a very interesting one. Someone else having a, I think we should not be forgetting to discuss about...
Hi, Peter Noordhoek from the Netherlands. I think that we are doing a wonderful job in raising the bar. Our American colleagues are all fired now, I understand, and we are busy building Europe in terms of standards. Great, but I would warn about the dangers of perfectionism and distrust, because we have all end users, and I'm an end user of much technology too, and many of the people in the Netherlands, and I know this because we do a national association survey, and we do know a lot about how associations and their members react to technology, are very reluctant to use it because they don't understand it enough. So the more perfect we build our systems and our standards, and the higher the level, the more disquiet we produce. There's something paradoxical about what we are doing. And that is what I want to give to
And how would you, because in the future, those ones that it was harm or the risk of just making a mistake are going to get bigger. How can we protect also the people that are not aware they're in really big danger?
Father says I have to take care of him, but Father also knows when to step back. And let's be real, we cannot prevent every risk. There's a trade-off. We are coming from a period now of 10 years in which we've tried to do something about the whitewashing of money in the bank system and the financial system. We've been successful in that. But our volunteers in the associations can no longer open a bank account because it's become too difficult. So people are very pissed off with all those measures. And we are in danger of producing that too. While writing those very perfect standards, we forget about the end users of the products. That's my signal.
Okay, that's a good. On the other hand, you could also say there's the success fallacy. The better we are in protecting citizens and companies against cyber attacks, the less they'll think it's important. Maybe they have to almost at least get robbed once until they understand how important it is. That it works both ways. If we do, can we move to the next question? When we talk about this dilemma, the Europe versus the world, well, the very simple question, if we really boil it down, is the question: Europe has to sail alone when it's about cybersecurity. We set our own standards, we do it our way because the rest of the world cannot longer be trusted. Or no, despite the difficulties, we have to keep doing this, have to pursue an international, global perspective on standards and cybersecurity. Well, the first votes coming in show a very global perspective. Can I ask you? Europe first or global first?
I'm global first because, again, of industry, which are working globally. And I have to say this also from this point of view here, I'm speaking not as working in the standardization. I think it's also better if we do this globally than Europe alone. However, as said before, it might be good if we set a bar or we make the standard and then try to bring it to the global.
Yeah. Okay, so we have to be the global, preferably on our terms. Yeah, that's a good one. Europe alone or internationally together?
No, I would say international, yeah. And would prioritize Europe, of course, that's the goal here, but if we don't align globally, I don't see a way that we could do it.
Yeah. Let's ask you. Oh, sorry, you're having a call. Oh, nice catch.
Yeah, I think Europe should play a key role and setting up standards high, and then we should incorporate the rest.
Okay, so we're just going to be so good that everybody's going to beg us to join us and do it the European way. Okay, that's either very optimistic or very naive. That's we're going to see in a few years what it is. Is this the perspective we should be following, Paolo?
Personally, I think that we have to be utilitaristic in this, in the sense that in some cases it would be better for us to be alone, in other cases to be with others. It depends. Just to make an example, I've seen that all over this day, many people are worried about the quantum threat and the risk posed by quantum computing. The United States of America have decided that by 2035, so 10 years from now, classical cryptography will be no longer allowed, and by 2030, which means 5 years from now, it will just be deprecated. So in this particular aspect, cybersecurity, now we are follower, not leader. That's the point. In this case, could make sense for us to remain followers or become leaders? It's an open political question. In other cases, for sure, we are leaders. It makes sense that we continue to be leaders in other aspects of cybersecurity or standards in general. So my answer is that it depends, and it's on a case-by-case basis.
Andrea, is the world willing to follow us, or are we going to say, these are our standards, follow us, and the rest of the world says, nah, you go alone?
I would say, so you can't separate completely. So for example, yeah, it's a very nice example where Europe really started to do some standards, and then kind of a lot of other countries said, sounds nice, and really try to see what's going on. But at the same time, of course, the European standard took international standards and profiled them. So you can't completely invent the wheel. You have to take into account what already exists, and especially for interoperability, if you go completely other ways than the rest of the world, it does not work. But still, I think it's very important to profile, for example, international standards, adapt them for the European case, and sometimes really go for and show what we can do, and then if they are good standards, they will be implemented outside of Europe as well.
Cynthia, today Mark Zuckerberg of Meta lashed out against the EU, saying you are not getting our AI products as they have in the US already for a year because you have ridiculous regulation, all your standardization, it takes long, it's uncertain, and we can't make money here. We'll skip Europe, we'll just go. And in Africa, everybody has Meta AI, in Europe we don't. Aren't we going to lag behind on the rest of the world if we keep doing it the European way?
I think that for certain areas, really Europe, while doing it, remaining and doing it at European level, can take the lead, but we don't have the expertise in all areas. And cybersecurity, unfortunately, is one of those where, despite whatever we say, we might not have the expertise at European level, and that I can agree. But I agree also that there are others, like quantum, for example, where I think that Europe can lead the way at international level, and we are already doing it, at least when it comes to standardization. We're already a step ahead of what is happening at international level. So it really depends. I cannot speak in a generalized way, but it really depends on the areas where we want to take the lead and where we can take the lead. And I also agree with one of the previous speakers, or one of the person here that intervened before, that when we say, yeah, we need to go globally and internationally, and for Europe to take the lead, doesn't necessarily mean that we first go at international and we try to lead the international work, but is that we do it in Europe and then we export what we did it for the others to follow in a way.
Yeah. Joanna?
Well, look, I do represent European Cybersecurity Organization, right? So I live and breathe cybersecurity ecosystem every single day. Hence why maybe I'm slightly less pessimistic about our capabilities, because look, we have 330 plus organizations representing all sorts of different cybersecurity stakeholders coming from across Europe. And we have tons of good capabilities. We have the most innovative, not only ideas, but also the products. There are some issues we all agree that prevent us maybe from taking the lead in many of those areas, but I would really like to stress that it's not that bad with us, and I think that Europe just needs a little bit of boost to prove not only ourselves but also to the external partners that we have what it takes to become a global leader, or at least play the game when it comes to cybersecurity. Now, that being said, maybe the situation that we are currently at has this silver lining, because this is a right moment for us to basically bet on what we have in Europe and actually maybe develop what is missing, right? So yes, the global situation is becoming a little bit more difficult to handle, but I would like to stress that this could be our chance to actually beef up our own capabilities. And if I may add something in reference to the previous sessions, and I think that that's also important to say, there was this recurring theme, you know, like visible across different sessions that for the future we need to have simplified standardization processes, more harmonization, reusability of different elements across the board, and all of that is super, super important. But there is another element that I would like to stress that is needed and where Europe can play a role in the future, and that's automation of the compliance processes. And I would like to stress that already in Europe there are some really good initiatives founded by European funds, like for instance Certify or Cobalt, so projects that are providing first-class solutions based on emerging technologies. You gentlemen said, and you mentioned AI. There are some other approaches that those funded projects are proposing, and I think that our innovative ideas in those fields can also bring us to the forefront of this global race.
But does it also mean that Europe needs a different industry, as long as we basically make machines and not have the cutting-edge AI technology? A lot of these new developments are mostly in the US or China. Can we set standards if we don't have the matching industry? Yeah, Paolo?
Regarding the AI Act states that you cannot use AI to discriminate people. And if Meta is going to say us that Llama allows to discriminate people, no, I don't want Llama in Europe.
But if we don't have a European AI industry, we are going to set standards for people from outside to bring their goods in or not?
Yes, absolutely. We need to create and to sustain a strong European industry, because otherwise there will be no interest for players inside or outside Europe to be in this market. That's for sure. This is the thing that we have to do, and what we are now discussing in Europe in terms to change the approach. I'm referring to the Draghi report, which states that essentially every month there is 100 billion euros that are flowing from Europe to sustain markets outside of Europe. If we have a competitive market capital union in Europe, probably a good part of this 100 million euros will remain in Europe, and we're able to create all the models we want for AI or whatever else. Yeah. This is the problem. It's not about standards where we have to find the solution of this problem, this very big imbalance. It's about the market of innovation and the capital market. That's my view.
I saw this graph that there are more Dutch investors investing in startups in the US than in Germany, which they can reach by bicycle. Yeah, that is a sad reality. To our sidekicks, apart from buying iodine pills, which is a very pessimistic solution, what kind of solutions are our audience bringing?
There's specifically one comment that I like to highlight, and that is the one that, Nushin, can you make the magic thing?
The magic thing, yeah.
Yeah, go downwards. Yeah, a little bit upward, please.
Oh.
Sorry. Yeah, it's this one here. I like it very much. I mean, it's the comment is basically saying that if the European standards are good enough, they will be adopted globally. And so that's, I think, something that we can take away.
Yeah, and I heard people say Europe is not a superpower, but we're a super regulator, and that it's our secret power. Let's move to our last topic of today. That's the question: how can we lower barriers to participate in the making, following, and implementation of standards in a fast-changing, fragmented, politicized, and dangerous world? Already in panel 3, when we talk about today, accessibility of standards, paid or free is a thing. Already industry being able and allowed to send experts into standard making is a challenge today. What if we have even scarcer human resources and it's going to be even more difficult? So on the very long term, so the first question, one option is standard making should be left to Gen AI. We just asked some kind of ChatGPT, make for us some standards, and then we're done. Well, So far, this is not a very. I think a lot of people are afraid of their jobs here today. But Olo, this suggestion comes from you. You say, yeah.
Yes, first I agree with what Cinzia said that we need more younger people, fresh energy working in standards, otherwise it's a problem. I'm 50 years old and many standardization committees, I'm the younger one. This couldn't work. Regarding generative AI, I heard this statement about standards, which is standards are about making choices that do not matter. And this makes sense because the standard port for HTTP is 80, but it's just a number. Could do anything else, it would work the same. So in a paradoxical way, but to find some truth in this, if we think that generative AI or better larger language model are based somehow on consensus, because they create a probabilistic model of the common view of many people, many sources. If standards are about to create a consensus about what is clear to everyone, it should not totally strange about this word that a support in developing a standard is delegated to a generative AI system. In the same way that today's lawyers are resolving to use large language models to craft contracts.
But then is Gen AI better than rolling a dice? Let's say, what port should HTTP be? Oh, it's 80?
It depends on the expert.
Okay, I'm going to ask. Quite some people of you say no. Human standardization making cannot be replaced by Gen AI. Who likes to explain why that is? Oh, now everybody is... I'm just going to randomly assign this to someone. Can it be done by Gen AI?
Well, I think generative AI is not reliable to get consensus from society.
No? Okay, yeah, but it's just... what do you think? Gen AI takes over the world?
Then I have no job. No, but I believe that the same, no consensus building. But maybe we can use it in some way for the better.
What kind of things would you like to outsource to Gen AI? The drafting or the suggesting?
Yeah, some of the drafting maybe, but then still have people discuss the draft.
Okay, so Gen AI can make the suggestions, but in the end, the final decision, it's not so much... who else has some argument why we can or cannot use Gen AI for this?
Yeah, just to represent the societal impact of standardization. So the whole area of standardization exists, I suppose, to look after each other, make sure we're doing the right thing. So in my mind, whether it's US or EU regulation, to be honest, when we look at digital challenges, it's the same challenges no matter where you are. So I think we should be looking at harmonization across the board, which results in streamlining, simplification, and we should be looking at complementing each other in different regions.
But isn't
so Gen AI may not represent that correctly.
But isn't that just prompting correctly? Gen AI make a standard for this that is compliant with EU regulation and also takes into account consumers, users, citizens, and the environment.
Yes, so it's probably going to be something that will be very useful to us, but under tight control, I suppose, but with the correct objectives by the bodies.
Okay, Gen AI can make a nice draft, it's not going to make the decisions. Andrea?
Yes, so already for me it cannot work because it does not drink coffee. Because in general, the best decisions for standards is when you get really experts which have their different point of view, their different needs, and then they discuss over coffee or whatever and find a solution for that. And this, again, consensus finding between people of different backgrounds, I think that's something very human in the end, and I don't see how this can be done by Gen AI.
Even if Gen AI would make the exact same outcome, you miss out on the process and you miss the most important part.
At least the most fun part, but no, it's yeah. I'm not sure if the outcome would be exactly the same. I think there's a lot of listening to each other, and yeah.
I see also coming. Gen AI emboldens biases, so if you make an error in the system, will only be enlarged. Cynthia?
Yeah, no, I'm very much along the line of what was just said. I was thinking that I've been in standardization for 18 years now. And when I interview people to join CENELEC, and they ask, how it comes that you've been 18? And I say, you know, standardization is about people, and is about the technical expertise that those people bring to the table, and is about the passion and the discussion and the consensus building that makes standards what they are. And so I think that you cannot have standards without the people behind it. Gen AI can help improving maybe the wording, the editing. I don't say that they cannot be an advantage, but I think that behind the great standards, you have always great mind.
Yeah. Okay. So I've never seen this audience so united and also so vocal. Like this is speak stupid and this is crazy. So AI may not yet be or not at all be the solution. Then what are some solutions to lower the barriers to participate when the world is fast changing, politicized and dangerous? Human resources are getting scarcer, and the pressure on the shoulders of standards is becoming higher and higher. What are some suggestions? Yeah, you have the mic. Oh, I was just gonna. You have the microphone. Who has a suggestion? What we can do? Maybe I'm gonna ask some younger people. Do you have an? Because there's a lot of pressure put on the shoulders of young people here. What do you have? What kind of idea do you have?
I might. I want to say something else, so I'll hijack the microphone if you put it in my hands.
Now you have it.
So one of the things that we've heard here today over and over is people saying, hey, we need more people in standardization. And preferably they should be young people. Oh, and yeah, we know it costs money, but you can apply for funding and then everything is fine. So I wanted to share a small anecdote because I actually applied for this funding and it was not approved. And I wanted to share one sentence from the report. And that was, while his qualifications are solid, his relatively limited experience in industry and standardization could pose challenges in adapting quickly to committee dynamics, affecting the proposal's overall capacity and credibility.
Oh yeah, so we need young people, fresh people who think different.
So maybe to spin it into your question, I'm saying like, we have a lot of really great ideas here in the room, but maybe we need to make sure that we also put those into reality and we don't just talk about them.
Yes, I know, but be assured. And probably the other side is, if you would have been accepted, within no time, it would have conditioned you to think like they used to do. It's always really hard to change the system instead of being absorbed by the system. I thought you wanted to react?
Yes, of course, because I think that I might have a very quick response to what you just said and to the problem that you just pointed out. Look, there are some mechanisms, and most likely they are not perfect, but there are some mechanisms that are currently undergoing that aim at building communities around standardization processes to bring people of all sorts of different backgrounds to the work. And actually, maybe I can make a use of the presence of a colleague of mine, Matteo, who works at EXO, and is responsible for our participation in the CyberStand project. And maybe Matteo can explain what are we doing and how actually our community making efforts can bring along and help to solve problems that were just, brought here.
Very good.
Yeah, thank you, Johanna. So I can't speak for fundings, but what I can assure you is, and I had quite a long conversation also with you official this morning, is that there's a big effort in trying to broaden the audience and the stakeholders, because even though I've been working in the IT industry for years now, for a year and a half more into this policy domain, what I notice is that even me, I start to see the same old faces working in standard. I start to know people, right? So I think there's really an understanding that we need to broaden the scope. Even if people are not expert in standardization yet, they can become expert in standardization. I think it's easier to become expert in standardization than in cybersecurity, for instance. So we need to find ways that we're trying to do with the communities here to broaden a bit the scope. It's not easy, as said, because then you get people in the room that are not even funded sometimes, but that's an entry point, right? And I think it's already something, but obviously happy to get more feedback on that as well.
Wonderful. Are there some suggestions from the audience that we could highlight? I see
there are some.
Yeah?
I think something that was repeated a few times was that actually bring it to the education. So to educate more people that they understand the standardization work, basically. and also to raise the awareness and to maybe have to make the meetings more efficient and the discussion to find the consensus more.
Yeah. Okay, I see a hand being raised.
I'd like to add one topic there. There is a program ongoing already on education called Edu for Standards, where many universities in Europe are involved, I think 13 to 15, I can't remember, where we also participate. And we are trying to do something similar also in Germany with the government, where we are involving industry, universities, as well as in German we say Handwerk. So all kind of education.
Okay.
I think that's really required and to support exactly that young people should join, even if they don't have the experience.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. This is a very crucial one. We have time for one, or we have time for a question from the audience. Do we have a question from the online? No. No one coming in. No. Oh, then that's very easy. Then I think it's time to wrap up basically our day. It's been a long day, and it's very good that we end in the future. Let's go to the last question. So then, if we think we now looked far into the future, what do we then have to do tomorrow? So that's the last question of the day we have for you. If you think, if these are the things that are in the future, and there might be a lot of things in the future that we don't even know that are coming, because a few years ago we couldn't even predict what was going to happen. So what are you going to do tomorrow to be ready for the future on the long term? I'm going to ask each of you if you have one advice for all of us if we want to be future ready, that we every day wake up and are ready for what might come in the future, far away or close. What should we be doing tomorrow? Andrea.
I think find the community, really cooperate together, find the stakeholders that are important, bring them together, say them, yes, you can influence in the standards, move yourself, and really, yes, try to spread the word and get the community to work on the topic.
Yeah, thank you very much. Joanna?
So what I'm going to do is to take this advice and go to the EXA community and scream and shout about the need of getting engaged.
Wonderful. Paolo?
Actually, tomorrow I have to draft another standard, so okay. So bear with me. But seriously, I've spent some time in my company aligning the business owners to make them clear to them why standards are important for the market. Because if you are in a company and the people that have the budget do not understand why standards are important for them, you don't have a lot of possibility to work on standards. And in any case, what you're doing in standards is not considered of value and not a strategic asset for the company. I repeat, third tier, second tier, first tier company. That's the approach that you have to follow in your company, your organization. Okay.
Cynthia?
Yes, I will build up on what Paolo just said. First, go and talk to your CEO and stress the importance and the strategic importance of standardization so that you can join CENELEC or ETSI and contribute in shaping or leading the standards of today or tomorrow.
Well, wonderful. Are there some things coming from the audience also on this? One thing I'm reading is LOV 303645. I've seen that before. Is that a code I'm missing? Someone knows what it is?
Standard.
It's
a standard.
It's a standard. On what? Okay, I'm going to look this up in the train home, and then I might love 303645 as well. What are some things the audience is saying?
Maybe there is one question actually here.
Oh, there's a question.
Yes, they were saying about how SMEs could more effectively participate in the standardization work.
Again, what can I say? I can only advertise the things that we are doing. So within the CyberStand project, we are actually building those communities that are super open also to SMEs. We do have partners like Digital SMEs. I already saw some representatives of the association being present here. So the idea is to really point them out to us, and we will do our best, at least on our end, to include them with our efforts.
Do SMEs have to be involved directly, or there's SBS, the Small Business Standardization Organization? Is it also good enough if they are represented through them, or do you really want the SMEs in the room to hear their perspective?
Well, of course, SBS is one of the key partners also for CEN and CENELEC, and they can participate directly or through them, the various experts. But we shouldn't forget that in many national committees, SMEs represent the majority of the stakeholders anyhow, so they are present and are on the table. And we are also, as CEN and CENELEC, we are taking many measures to support and facilitate the participation of SMEs.
Yes, it's always good to have a union of something, but it never replaces the real voice. Andrea?
So in the discussion where I participate in general, each person has their voice independent from which company they're coming. So if the SME participate, because for example, we heard in AFNOR, it's free for them to participate in the national committee. So as soon as somebody directly participate, they can talk, and they are heard of. So
yes, it takes some effort, but it really pays off. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we spent a long day. We had 2 coffee breaks and a lunch where magic could happen. Hopefully you're not going to run away to your train, airplane or helicopter, whatever is waiting for you, but you stay a while to have a drink, because that's apparently it's where the real magic happens. Something AI cannot do for you is interhuman connection, where you start to understand each other. And hopefully you're all going to work together, because it's a it's a difficult, not near impossible, it's a difficult task to what you have to do, but it's 400 million Europeans rely on the standards that you are going to develop to keep us safe while still having the advantages of modern technology. I wish you good luck in that. I hope to see you next year, but not after we give a big round of applause to Cynthia, Andrea, Joanna, and Paolo. And to Kim Anushin, and all the people who made this today possible. Thank you very much. Enjoy your day.